Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Day in the Life of Vintage Classic Specialist. Today, Rafa worked his magic on the 65 convertible. So those of you that have been watching may know that this car had a very uneven gap on the door right here. So the gap at the top was at least twice what it was on the bottom. It was pretty much a big V. And that was doing a few things. One, the door gap itself looked terrible. The other thing is that one of the reasons the customer brought it in was he wanted the windows lined up better. And so because this gap was getting bigger as you went up, that also translated into here. So the gap here was pretty big, but then it got enormous at the top. I don't know, it's probably at least twice what it was here. It looked pretty bad. So what we did was we loosened up all of the bolts on the support rails over here and some other body bolts, and then basically jacked up the corner of the body right here where the body bolts to the shock tower, for those of you that are familiar with those cars. Jacked that up until this gap closed, and then essentially what we did was put spacers between the body and the shock tower. Those of you that are familiar with these cars will know exactly what I'm talking about. So that would be about right here at the body mount. And yeah, closed it up, tightened everything back up, and pretty much made that gap look very uniform. It may be a tiny bit bigger at the bottom than top now, but unless someone was looking for it, I really don't think they'd notice it. So after that was done, Rafa went ahead and adjusted the windows, and you can see how good they're lining up now. He did some adjusting to get the door to close well, because we kind of move things around. Essentially, door closes super good now. So yeah, that was a huge job. That actually took most of the day, as you can imagine, to kind of tweak this thing into better shape. This side here, which Rafa had adjusted previously, looking really good still, not really affected by what we did on the other side. But yeah, look at that. Not easy to do that on a convertible Beetle. Usually these things are all wonky with each other. So we've got a couple other little relatively minor things we want to do on this car. There's some electrical things that he asked us to do, and windshield wipers. So we'll finish those up tomorrow. I'll probably get this car back to him. Of course, it's been raining nonstop for those of you in Southern California, so I don't know when the customer is going to want to come get it, but the good news is windshield wipers are going to be working now, so if he does want to drive it in the rain, he'll be good to go. So other than that, Rafa was pretty focused on this today. I was doing some work on the bus. So what I did today was, other than usual running errands, went ahead and ran out to Wolfburg West to get a few parts that I needed to help me continue to work on this. So one of the main things was I went ahead and installed the pedal assemblies. So you can see them here. So here you can see the pedal assemblies are all in. This one is sitting down to the floor because it's not, the clutch cable doesn't have any tension on it, so it just kind of falls down. But yeah, got all these installed, throttle, brake, everything. And as you can see here, master cylinder is installed now. Let's take a look from underneath the car here real quick. Actually, I remembered my flashlight this time, so there's some hope for me. So yeah, there they are. So again, we got all these levers, powder coated, new hardware. There's the master cylinder. There's the lever for the brakes. This lever here is for the clutch, all hooked up. This linkage that you see right here, that's for the throttle pedal. There were some areas in here too that were kind of dirty and not really painted very well. So actually had some paint that was a really good match to this. So went ahead and touched it up. Like for example here where the master cylinder mounts, it wasn't really painted very well. This bracket up here was not really painted very well, and it was bent. So did some things like that, kind of straightening things out, make it look better than how it came in. So other than the pedals, did some more assembly on the front end. Front end's pretty much together now. I haven't fully assembled the brakes yet, but I've got the backing plates on with the wheel cylinders, shocks. Steering's pretty much on. Of course, the steering box on these, unlike a Beetle, it mounts to the frame. So the steering box and then the drag link will go on once this is on the car. But yeah, it's going together pretty well, and we're using all original hardware. This hardware was actually Dorn hardware, which is one of the other brands that Volkswagen use. K-Max and Dorn hardware, pretty common on these. So there you go. Pretty productive day in the shop here, especially straightening this thing out. That was a pretty huge job, but we managed to knock it out in a little less than a day. And I think the customer is going to be very happy with this result. Go back and look at my video from last week and you'll see what this thing looked like before. Terrible. Now it's pretty darn good, I'd say. Again, I think if you weren't looking for it, you probably wouldn't notice that the gap is a teeny tiny bit tighter at the bottom than top, but you know, it's true on most of these cars, so it's not really that out of line for how most of these are. These are very old cars, so they tend to be a little crooked. Anyway, that is it for today. Hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you guys next time.